The first speaker for today is a special person. I'm not sure if he's going to tell you about this, but he's one of the reasons why we have Microsoft Teams in Latvia. And he is the head of engineering excellence at Emergn Latvia, Aigars Macins. And the first session now we're going to start is about the Azure cognitive services and machine learning. So we will gain understanding of how to leverage different pre-built capabilities of Microsoft Azure cloud without having machine learning engineers around. If you have a new organization and you don't have big team of data scientists with deep knowledge of machine learning, this is what you can do. Aigars, very welcome you to the digital floor. Live.
Okay, sure. Hi. So let's start. So hi. I will be talking here indeed about Azure Cognitive Services and a bit about machine learning, how you can use it together with Power BI. It's a very wide topic, so let's see how far we get. And I will definitely not cover everything what is there to learn, but it's a start. So yeah, so first piece, I will just have a quick overview about some Azure Cognitive Services, and then I will have a kind of screen capture, a bit of screenshots that I made about how you can consume it in Power BI, so that it's easier kind of to pick it up and learn. But if we have time, then in QA part, then you can also ask me questions, and I can also show it maybe. So first, Azure Cognitive Service, which kind of Azure Cognitive Services, there's like tons of services which are pre-made, and you can use it if you want to kind of have these capabilities added to your data sets or to your applications or whatnot. And what is interesting about them is that all of them are exposed as APIs. So essentially, if we would go to their, let's say, documentation, you would find that they have the JSON signature to them and so on. And they also have different capabilities and what they can do. So this screenshot, for example, which I have here, based from categorization of language services, it is a text analytics service, which I will later use in a demo. I will use functionalities there which returns a sentiment of text phrase which was entered, and also a key phrase extraction phrase there. So, and it also has ability to detect language. Actually, it supports like most of the languages in the world, so you can throw it in the beginning just to detect language, and then use it as a parameter later on in other services as well. So this is one example of services, which is the text analytics ones. Then in language services, which are also interesting ones, one is, let's say, language understanding services, which you can use to build bots and chatbots and have a conversational user interfaces created for your applications. And essentially, you need to just build a database of question and answer format data, and you can use them to train these cognitive services in Azure. Another one which is very important is also Microsoft Translator text, and has quite a lot of languages supported there. And you can use it in plenty of scenarios, both online and offline on mobile devices as well. But let's go further down. So then we also have speech services, which will be a bit harder to show in Power BI, but sometimes if you are creating some reports and you want to include or kind of based on, let's say, speech information, you can also use cognitive services to extract speech information and transcribe into text, and then maybe feed back into other these language text analytics services as well, and other ones. This is a bit of a diagram about how the process works, but it's not that important. It's more about as example. Computer vision one is also very interesting one. It's also built in Power BI if you have a Power BI Premium, but I will cover that later. So there is a bunch of different vision services. The ones which are most interesting for businesses, I believe, are Form Recognizer and maybe Ink Recognizer. There was just a recent study that Ink Recognizer from Microsoft was actually beating in competition other ones in English language, but in French language it was better by let's not make mistakes, so I will not name a company, but there was a nice study comparing different, let's say, ink recognition services, so which are recognizing these ink is meant like these handwritten texts. And then and form recognizer essentially allows you to recognize some data which is structured in, let's say, some printed elements, and like invoices, receipts, and so on. And you can extract, and it tries to categorize the data into what is what. So it tries to recognize what kind of data it is and what is the value of the data. So it is very nice service and very handy for business purposes. But it's in English mostly, so that's it's a bit of limitation if you want to use in your local languages. So another one which is more fancy, and these are not really that useful, I would say, in the context of Power BI, but they could be also very useful in business sense, is like anomaly detection one, which you could actually probably use it also with Power BI, where you can try to detect some anomalies and some outliers in time series analysis, for example, on data, what you are, and seeing if there's something which is strange happening, and kind of using that on. So that's very useful. And another one, which is personalizer, which is described by these images, but essentially it allows you to create some personalized experiences for people and see how they react to them, and kind of train your model based on that. But this is more meant, I would say, for some applications or some marketing campaigns and so on. Okay. So let's go into adding these cognitive services to your Power BI data. So first thing, you just launch Power BI. Cool. Then you need to load some data. So in this particular case, I'm selecting some sample data set from Microsoft, Fabricam Comments, CSV. And you can just put this URL inside of regular file opening, and you don't have to care, and it will download the file from internet and use it. The catch is that it puts it in temporary storage, and it might get deleted. Well, it will get deleted actually. So here we have got the data, and what we want to do, we want to do some machine learning stuff. So what we do, we click add column, and then when we have clicked add column, we see this IE Insights piece. We hit it, and then because I have Power BI Pro only on my account, and I'm seeing this, oh, but you need to have access to premium capacity and so on. And I'm like, oh my God, what's happening to me? But there is a way. And the reason why Power BI is asking for premium to use these features, it's because premium has these dedicated backend services. So it's not running on your local computer. And then essentially this integration happens actually at the backend of Power BI, so in these reporting servers. And because it's happening there, then so it's integrated through that. And it also kind of ensures your data security and other things. But on regularly it doesn't work. So okay, to share. So what we can do. So let's start from the beginning. So first thing that we need to do, we need to create some cognitive services in Azure. So what you need to do, you have to go to portal.azure.com. If you have your subscription, just log in there. If you don't have it, you can try for a free trial. And actually there is free tier of services, and the demo which I'm showing, it actually is based on free tier of service. So let's then in the search bar we can type let's say cognitive services. We will find this window and hit create. We have to fill in some data, so we need to write some name of a resource we will create, a subscription which we will use, so in this case it's fine. Then location where we want our data to be, it's also important because let's say I'm living in Europe, so I want my data to be in Europe, so that's why I'm picking West Europe. Then you need to pick pricing tier. When I created this screenshot, I already had created my free tier, so I was unable to select it, but you can select F, and F stands for free. So if you select F, kind of name the tier, it will be free. And then you need to select the resource group, which essentially is just a grouping, how you group resources together. So that's just the kind of thing which makes it easier to find. So another important thing when your resource is created, so after a couple of seconds, so usually it's like 5 or 10, you get your resources created, and you see here is key and endpoints section. So you start in overview, you can click in key and endpoints, and here you see your keys. So if you want to consume them, you essentially need to also hit this button, show keys, and you will be able to see them. Generally, they should be secret because they are unique to you, and if anybody else, let's say, gets access to them, they can abuse your cloud services. So please be very wary and keep them secret. If you're kind of trying to use them, but you will see my keys anyways. So, and here is a bit of a screenshot about pricing tiers. So on free tier for these cognitive services, you get these features, and you can do 5K of transactions within a month. So that's maybe not much. So you can make, let's say, 5K of calls, 5,000 calls per month. But for playing around and maybe with some smaller data sets, it's probably good enough. And then you can upgrade also the paid ones, which are also not really that expensive. So it kind of really depends on how much of data do you have. So the more data you have, the more expensive it gets. And then there is some extra pricing after that. Okay. Now let's go back where we were. So now we are back in Power BI. And what we need to do, we need to create a new query. So here in our queries, when we are in this Power Query Editor window, where we wanted to add new column, we can select a new query, we select blank query, and we can write a bit of code here. I have a link at the end of the presentation, so you can also find all of these snippets from yourselves as well. But at the end of the day, what is important here is that you are able to call any, let's say, REST API or API from the internet. And this is code which just forms these requests and executes it. And what is here interesting is this API key, which I got from Azure. And then here is my URL, which is unique to my service. And here is the service which I'm calling. So this one will be calling text, sentiment, and analytics. And it will pass in as a parameter, I believe, this text value, and it will return a sentiment score. So here is another image where I'm showing kind of which data maps to which fields. So you're getting the data from top of the API key, and then endpoint you're putting here into your URL. And this one is another service which is called key phrases. So actually request the structure is exactly the same. The only thing which changes is kind of endpoint which you are calling. So when we have created it, cool. We have created these functions here. So I created a folder for them to just for organizing myself, and we have a function created, key phrases and sentiment functions created. So what we can do then is we can click add column, invoke custom function, and when we are invoking custom function, we can give this new column name. We need to select which of these functions we will use. So in this case, it will be key phrases, and which data field you want to send to this function as parameter. So in my case, I'm sending subject. So this data set is about, I guess, internet comments or something like that, or emails, actually, maybe emails and comments, something like that. And kind of what we did is with key subject, we are kind of analyzing which pieces of data go together into one unit. So key subject is kind of trying to organize all of this information, easier for us to kind of analyze. Another one, so we are getting these key phrases. Another one, what we are getting is sentiment. And for sentiment, I said that it's got from comments field. So we are trying to guess a sentiment of people. So are they kind of happy or not happy and so on. Sentiment score is from 0 to 1. And no, I need to remember precisely, but if I remember correctly, the bigger it is, it was more positive, and the lower it was not positive, but that needs to be double checked. I might have forgotten about it. So yeah, so essentially, and this stuff fully works in Power BI desktop, and there's all documentation about how to do it. It's also supported by Microsoft, and the reason why it works is because it works on your machine. It works on your desktop machine, which so because of that, all of the execution and so on happens at your end, and there is nothing to kind of worry about. It's fully supported in that regards. It's nothing illegal in that sense. So yeah, to sum up, so you can use Power BI Desktop. You can create Azure Cognitive Service kind of functionality and enable it from Azure Portal. Then you can add a custom query that invokes Azure Cognitive Services, so which we saw, and you can add columns that invoke these custom queries, and kind of you can get all the benefits, and it will look nice. So what's another important innovation which happened in Power BI, which is very important to bring? It's called auto machine learning, auto ML. And the idea here is that you can execute some, let's say, simple traditional algorithms from creating machine learning models. This one requires premium Power BI subscription, but and behind the scenes also uses Azure AutoML models and service behind the scenes. So this is, let's say, we can view it as a front end or visual, let's say, people-friendly way how to consume that service. And what it supports on Power BI, it supports three kind of harder, no, maybe not so hard machine learning models. One is binary prediction, then classification and regression modeling. So, and if you want to learn more about these services and things, you can check out first this like a demo which you can use from Microsoft is about the demo which I showed to you, and the other one is there is more documentation information about this machine learning auto machine learning service and how you can use it, and it's in my opinion it's like a very cool thing to do. So how I'm good on time or not? Oh yeah, I'm quite good. So now, so I'm finished. So I'm ready to answer questions and have a discussion. So, and while we are waiting for it, I can maybe open also, let's say, my Power BI application, so that we can see what I showed. So let's close it. So that I can say that this is not, let's say, done with images and something like that. It's actually in reality also created application. So here we can, yeah, also another important thing while we're waiting for questions is that you can also test these functions which you created. So let's say, and you edit them through advanced editor. So here is a function which I showed to you. That's it. And then when it's created, it kind of recognizes what are parameters here, and we can write some text. So this is key phrases. So let's say this event. You can invoke it, and it will make a call to this API service, and it will recognize that the key phrase here is event, which is quite cool. What else? Yeah, and so that's one thing. Another thing is that when you are creating these functions for the first time, Power BI will also ask you about some, do you want to classify the data, which is public endpoints, and do you want to call these public endpoints? Because Power BI kind of cares about your data privacy. And if you're making some calls over internet, you have to label which endpoints are going where. So you can, it's important kind of that you allow this kind of information to go through internet. Let's say if you want to use this functionality, but don't be afraid of it. It's just you have to be aware of it. The price of GDPR. So here is already on captured data set. So do I see some questions?
Yes, there are questions, but during the bootcamp, live demos are very nicely demanded, and everybody likes live demos and the emotions when sometimes doesn't something work. So this is great.
Oh, okay, okay. Good. So yeah, so emotion when doesn't work is when you try to do. Let me go to the data piece. You want to add column. and you want to, let's use machine learning service, which is nice, and you will get this nice pop-up. Well, okay, actually you have to sign in, so that takes time. But another thing is, yes, that one thing is that you can, which is also very interesting thing to learn, is that, let's say, if I'm using my Power BI with my corporate account, but I can use, let's say, and link it to Azure account, which is not my corporate one, so I can sign in as different user here. So that's also a nice feature to use. But of course, the catch with that is, yeah, I kind of still have to set it up. Okay, actually, I don't have a set up Machine Learning Studio on this account, so I don't really have models to import, but that would be another one. But let's say if you use Vision service, then yeah, I will. It has to. You have to have a premium capacity enabled.
Okay, let's take some questions if that's okay, Aigars.
Yeah, sure.
Great. The first one is about the sentiment analysis. It seems like an interesting feature, and how are companies currently using this? And can you talk about any useful use cases for the sentiment analysis? Currently, we still see your screen. Just
yes. So first one, what I want to do is I want to open just. So in sentiment analysis, yeah. So let's say if you're working as product manager in some company and you want to understand and somehow prioritize some events which are happening about some information you're collecting about your customers. It could be customer feedback. So that's actually an easy example. And you are maybe collecting this information from many different sources like forums, Twitter, social media, other ones, and so on. So you can use sentiment analysis to kind of try to do group comments. Whether they're positive or negative, and kind of see differences between these, and maybe see some trends which are happening when you're releasing a new feature. So our let's say something about bug reports, whether people are happy when they're submitting bugs to you or not. So it's also a measurement of kind of product culture you're creating around. That would be an example which I would like to provide. And it's used like that. But the trick with sentiment analysis is that it also has to use language as parameter when you're making the call. So if you go here, so let me just move to advanced editor. Then, so here we see this language parameter n. And it means that you have to know the language. And the normal case, you would have to call before that language detection service to recognize which language it is.
Okay, let's move on to the next question, and I'll still leave your screen on. Where would you recommend for someone to start with machine learning, like simple guides or get started, or communities, forums?
It's tricky. It really depends on your background. There is probably are good courses on udemy.com. Another thing is because Udemy is, at least depending on your location and country, it's also fairly cheap, so that's a good resource in that regards. Then at least I guess I'm lucky because I get always this $10 price, but some people are not. Then there is tons of stuff which is also available for free, but if you have already a bit of, let's say, math knowledge and math background, then the easiest place to start, I believe, is you can also start with just playing with an Azure Machine Learning Studio, and you can try to build models there, because there you don't have to code, and you can do stuff with drag and drop, and kind of follow there's tons of stuff on YouTube as well, how to use it, and you can create all of these fancy models like regressions, classifications, and so on there, just with drag and drop functionality, which is quite cool, very useful for starting. And then when you want to go deeper, you can actually go deeper already just by understanding the principles, because the first thing that you have to learn is the principles about how machine learning works and what is a pipeline, and how you can arrange it to be set up. So here is a visual how this whole machine learning model and training process looks like. That's why it's kind of quite cool. So
Okay, thank you. Next question was also about active communities where people are helping each other who want to learn more about the tools behind this. Any particular community? Because yes, Udemy courses, but they are pre-recorded, and the Q&A, I haven't heard that great communities on Udemy.
Yeah, well, it's a tricky one. I'm not myself machine learning engineer, so I'm looking more at, let's say, popular scientific resources in such regards. Well, I would not be able to say, let's say, very good community myself. And it also really depends kind of on country, because with a lot of things it's easier actually also to find if you have some meetups happening on meetup.com which are related to your domain, that would be the place which I would actually recommend. And Meetup also now supports remote meetups, which is great, so I would recommend to use them, so you actually can break geographical boundaries but not really language boundaries.
Right, previously Meetup was local completely,
yeah,
or taking places in cities at real time on the spot, but now, right, it's remotely. The last question would come from my side. How do you feel about the adoption rate of the new tools? And do you see that there is a lack of engineers doing this? Do you have problems hiring, or can everybody keep on with the pace that's been now set with adapting the tools?
So it's very hard to keep the pace. To be frank, you have to invest in that constantly, and it's actually explicitly hard if your daily job does not involve using them. But at the same time, it's a thing that we have to do, because world changes very rapidly now, and we just need to find some pieces where we want to focus and just invest 1 hour, maybe each evening, maybe 3 evenings per week, and that accumulates, and that would be the best way, I think, how to continuously stay on top of the game and adapt and try new things. And definitely now it's actually a huge opportunity today, because all of these online events and all of the on-premises and on-person events became free. So for example, last week there was a build event from Microsoft. I still have to view a lot of sessions from there, but so much of the content now becomes free, so content is very easily available. It's more about us finding time in our lives to consume it, and I know it's a challenge depending on phase of your life, but it's just a thing that has to be done.
All right, Aigars, thank you very much for joining us today. We're unfortunately out of time, and now we're going to travel to Thailand. But thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day, Aigars.
Thank you, bye.